Welcome to the Author Your Life podcast, where you can write a new script for your life and become the hero of your story. I'm your host, David McRae. You are the author of your life. Let's get started.
All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Author Your Life podcast. Today on the podcast, we have Bianca Rathgeb. Bianca spent many years in the corporate world as an IT business analyst. She eventually realized that this was not her thing and that there was no meaning and joy in this work for her. So in 2009, she started educating herself for a new career path. She first trained as a Pilates and Yoga teacher and started her own health business called Goldene Mitte. This translates from German as the golden mean and balance. She's a practitioner of the Emmett technique, NLP coaching, and is a certified high performance coach. She worked at the German yoga conference for Max Strom and is a model for his online video course. She is also training with Coach Tim Adams to be the very first student of the Adams method. Bianca works primarily with injured students and students with depression and anxiety as a teacher, a coach, and a speaker. This is a wide-ranging conversation covering Bianca's many different skills and interests. And just some of the things that we talk about include how we control emotions with the breath, Bianca's difficult decision to leave someone she loved, even though he was a great partner, how to use visual aids to improve learning, and seeing yourself through someone else's eyes to increase self-love. We cover that and a whole lot more in this interview. So without further ado, allow me to introduce to you Bianca Rathgeb. Bianca, welcome to the Author Your Life podcast.
Thank you for having me, David.
So Bianca, you're a multi-passionate entrepreneur. You've got your hands in a number of different buckets. Can you tell the audience a little bit about your journey of how you've gotten to where you've gotten? Why are you doing the things that you're doing right now?
I worked in IT kind of by accident. I still don't know how I ended up studying IT and economics, but I studied it, I made it through, I hated it, but I worked. And at some point, this job brought me to Switzerland and to a big bank here, working there. And I saw no purpose in my work, no meaningful work, even not a project that came to implementation fully. Only some of the projects we specified made it to implementation. So this was super annoying, super not fulfilling. And at some point I remembered that as a kid I wanted to be a teacher, a doctor, an artist, an astronaut, and an archaeologist. So with that in mind, I came back to the yoga and Pilates field that I started, as a teenager, and did my first education, first in Pilates, then in yoga. I got, I don't know what the thing was, but I met my teacher, Max Strom, in a course in here in Zurich. At some point he said, "You should come to my teacher training." By that time I was unemployed, had no money whatsoever. But I made it 3 times to the US, to Washington DC, and did his teacher training. And that kind of popped everything open. The best story from there is he put me from the sideline. I was next to the wallflower like hiding. with all my books and all my material. And first day of training, he looks at me and says, "You come over here," and put me in the middle of the room with no wall at my back, no security, super on spot. And I hated it so much. Next day, I was back to the wall. And again, he looked at me and said, "You here now." And again, I was so annoyed. And I did not like being in the first or second row there. He did that one more time or twice until I did it myself. And just to avoid this morning drill thing. And from there on, I became his assistant. And my first assistant gig was on the German yoga conference in Cologne. So all the who is who you know from Yoga Journal in the German-speaking world and in the American world, they were there. And some of them in Max class, and I assisted them. I was dying. This as an assistant is crazy. Mm-hmm. So things just happened when I moved to Switzerland. So this Max thing came to life. I found, what was that? I was in Italy in a hotel, a little pension, and saw a Left magazine, a German women's magazine. I never read. It's kind of this hairdressers magazine stuff. And there a method was mentioned from Emmett in Australia. Back home, I found out this method that helps injured students, which is my main clientele, really people over 40. My oldest is 85, either in physical pain or with sleep issues, anxiety, depression, you name it, burnout. They come to my class. I rarely have people who are younger or super healthy. Mm-hmm. That is not the norm in my classes. So I read about these Emmett therapies, and that with little pressure points, like in acupressure, you can release tension and help the body heal itself. I was like, oh God, I need that. Went to a trial course here in Switzerland because the lady doing the European education is here in Switzerland. And with that first course, I wanted to go to Australia to learn from Emmett himself how the technique is done, because only there he does the beginners modules 1 and 2 himself. Normally he only does advanced level. I asked my boss by that time in a telco communications company, can I have 1 month of unpaid leave? He said, no, I cannot sign up anything at the moment. You have to wait. Mm-hmm. And it's soon December. I have to plan flights and books and plan this Australia thing out. Please. He did not answer. I was totally frustrated. And at some point, we got a mail, hey, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, be ready at the main entrance of the company. Everyone. And we're like, whoa, what's going on? Buses came, took us to the next city in a hotel. And there the CEO told us there will be a mass release. And if you're coming back to your PC or laptop and you got a mail, you're fired. And I was like, what is going on? So we looked at our boss, our team leader, and he was like, I cannot tell you guys. It's like a communications plan. I cannot do anything. We're like, Chris, please. And so he took us aside and went to a meeting room and said, do you want to know? We have 2 people here in our team who have to leave. Do you want to know who it is? And I nod my head because I knew it must be me and maybe someone else who are younger and fresh in team. Yeah. So it was me and a younger colleague. The good thing is I wanted 1 month unpaid leave. I got 3 months paid Australia and did my education there. So the money always shows up for me if I need it in a way. It was so for Max's education, it was so at Ross, and it is so with my new teacher. it's kind of interesting. So I came back to my childhood dreams and professions I wanted to do, because as a kid I made potions. I went with my grandparents, and the sister of my granddad was a nun, a Catholic nun, and she was into herbs and potions and all that stuff. So she brought me all the material I needed or wanted to know stuff, and was into science. Yeah, and so my mother had to endure smelling potions and fats on her kitchen oven thing, and I did creams and stuff, and it was smelly. And I put, how is it called? Leeches?
Yeah? What, suck your blood out?
Yeah. So I did operations on animals and put the leeches out, and some humans too. So all my childhood kind of looked at if I would do teaching or becoming a doctor or something, but this got lost. And nowadays, I'm working all the professions except for the astronaut, okay? Except for the astronaut and archaeologist, but I have an archaeologist in class, so I'm living through her, kind of. So I'm back to my childhood with all the professions, and what got me there was really I wanted to help people, make them healthier, happier, and maybe also follow their dreams, and that there's more out there and that's possible to do, to inspire people live another life, a more happier, more fulfilled life. And with that, you can prevent injuries, or injuries maybe not, but illness too.
Wow, what an exciting adventure you've been on, Bianca. There's quite a few things I'd like to pick out of that. The first of which that came to me is you talk about most of your clients and your students are people with injuries or mental health concerns. With the people you work with, are there any important things that you've learnt in how to help them that you think is applicable to everyone in life?
What I work a lot with, because of the deep and powerful effect, is really we focus on the breathing. One reason for it, your breath and your emotions are connected. You can access certain emotions with the deep breathing. It's very interesting when I can assist Max to watch the class, because then you have more time. In my classes, I have to teach, I have to observe, I have to adjust. I'm super into the thing, but if you can step aside and watch him teaching and the effect of the people are crying, they get super emotional, and a lot of things come up, because there's this coming from the Chinese medicine aspect, that emotions are stored in different parts of the body. So if you stretch a certain body part, things might come up. People telling me all the time, hey, I had this memory coming up, or I had this reaction, or I got super emotional, or I had to cry. And you see it. I mean, you see people kind of are boggled with, oh my gosh, what's going on here? I feel something, help. So the breath for sure is, especially in busy cities, one of the most needed things, because people rush into class, they're stressed out. Many of the mothers coming to class cannot come regularly or on a consistent base, because sometimes the husband cannot come home in time, and she has nobody for the kids to take care of. And the first thing mothers cut is their health regimen. And that kind of affects the whole family. I think it's easy to say, of course, but I think they could help their family and serve their family better if they're healthy and strong. And you get you don't have the resilience in a way if you don't have the mental and physical stability. If life kind of happens to you all the time and throws you under the bus. So breathing is one of the most powerful techniques I found, and you can do it everywhere, in your street clothes, in your jeans. You don't need a mat, so there's no excuse not to breathe. And here in cities, sometimes people don't want to breathe. You see people really resisting a deep ocean breathing or a deep breathing technique because it might get you into emotions, and we don't like that. I mean, I'm speaking from myself too. I'm maybe because of my story in 14 years of IT, I'm very much in my head, and I'm very fast thinking. So it's easy to stay there and not drop into your body and kind of be disconnected with your emotions, with your body and all's going on. And just on Wednesday, I got an advice or a homework, or however you want to call that, from my mastermind group, because I am so much in my head. They said, hey, don't force it. Don't just go into action and forcing it. Allow and surrender and get into your more female qualities, and don't be kind of so pushy and such a man sometimes. But soften up. I mean, go to the other extreme for a while and experience that, because then maybe life flows in a different quality to you. I went home to bed, took a nap. That's another thing I would say. Taking breaks and naps is one of the most powerful things I do. I try to do it each other day if I can, if I'm passing by home. So I took a nap and some binaural sounds and solfeggios, and I don't know what kind of meditation sound thing, to work with emotions and the heart opening aspect of it. Funny enough, I woke up and got an interview request for yesterday. Things that were worrying me in the morning and freaking me out, I could solve with discussion with the team, with the people. So with this allowing and soften up and letting things go, things changed, things moved. So that is also a good point. And another thing for sure is this mindfulness, guided meditation aspect of it, and really do little things. Eat well. I would say it's really to take care of your body as a first, but don't forget your emotions and your mind, to get them kind of all together and not fighting against each other. Because often when we have these struggles and these problems, because we're not aligned with our values or not in line with our emotions, or something is kind of mismatched there.
Yeah, I think what you've been saying will appeal to a lot of my audience. The majority of my audience are ladies, and the biggest segment of that are women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, women who are potentially are mothers, potentially do have the household and the family and all the concerns that come with that. So to them, do you have a breathing exercise or a simple tool that they could use to start to experience some of the things that you've been talking about?
It's hard to describe on a podcast actually, but what I do normally with new students is standing. The thing is, many people teach breathing laying or sitting. Max, my teacher, Max Strom, they can Google him. He has 2 excellent TED Talks on a life worth breathing, and There Is No App for Happiness. I highly recommend that. And he also had the 30-minute program. You can check out his IA30 in YouTube. There's a class with him teaching that. But the thing is, if you just stand with your feet wide apart, like we call it horse stance. So really like you would sit on a big fat horse.
Right.
So like bending your knees, standing very wide, and you do touch the hands in front of your chest or your heart at the beginning. You open the mouth. People hate that. But you open the mouth and the teeth as something, piece of chocolate. We're talking Switzerland, so piece of chocolate would fly into your mouth. The mouth stays open to get really a lot of oxygen and a lot of air into your lungs, in your system. And you breathe in with open mouth and you breathe out with your open mouth. And there goes the arm movement along with it. So your hands in front of your chest, open slowly when you breathe in. It's like you would stretch the arms in shoulder width apart. When breathing out, it took all the breathing in, it took one breath to open up. And when you breathe out, you close the arms slowly again. So that's all. That's the easiest breathing exercise you can do. And I tell my students, if you have a rough day at work or family-wise, just do that. If it's in a bathroom or whatever, just go off. Don't shout at somebody, remove yourself and do some 1 minute, 2 minute breathing. And then watch if you feel different. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes that can already calm you down. And there's much more. And Max is actually a lot of time, if your audience is in the UK, he's often in London. So a lot of inner access is taking place in London, actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Thank you for sharing that. What I've been hearing a lot is the amount of training that you do, and you've described yourself as a self-described seminar junkie. Lots of training, lots of workshops, lots of seminars, lots of information. How do you learn effectively? Have you found any particular tools or techniques that have helped you to take all of this information and actually ingrain it and then implement it in life and business?
The first thing I remember in regards to learning is I always note stuff down like crazy. So, and nowadays I learned that it is more powerful if you really write down with pen and paper, not with a laptop. Mm-hmm. So typing has not the same effect on your memory than that, because of the muscle memory of the writing itself. And funny enough for me, it was, I never looked at my notes of seminars. I wrote it one time and it was kind of downloaded in my brain. I don't know if that is with everyone, but for me, just the process of noting it down made it for me. Nowadays, with one of the educations I did, I'm a graphic recorder, so I draw pictures and text of what's being said. And when I nowadays are in a seminar, I draw it. Sometimes it looks like a comic. If the speaker is not Brandon Burchard, who talks way too fast, I can draw. If it's too fast talking, it's more text. But I try to do it with colors and with, some people say it looks like a mind map, but it is not really. The system behind it resembles a lot of mind map techniques, but really to add pictures to it and color helps visual thinkers and visual people a lot. So for me, this visual piece changed my notes because I nowadays look at it. Mm-hmm. That is something that changed since I changed this way of note taking. In regards to implementation, I must say I take in a lot. Implementing takes a lot of time for me, and I haven't implemented much of it. Some people scolded me and teachers of mine and said, you have to start teaching. Enough seminars. Implement and give the world and show the world what you learned.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of sometimes hard for me because I don't know what I know. I do it very unconsciously, and people admire what I'm doing and up to and all the things I did. But I have oftentimes a hard time to say what I know or what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So this is for me the archaeology part in my life, finding out what I know and how I can share that with the world, or how I can help people at the beginning, because I sometimes don't know anymore how it is to be a beginner, and put myself in the shoes of somebody who never did, for example, self-development, or who has his first yoga class, or a long time I could not put myself in the shoes of somebody injured, because I've never been injured. In my childhood, I was bloody all the time. I fell down. I had no balance. I was the sickest kid in school or in kindergarten. I was super sick. But in my all teenage adult years, nothing serious ever happened. So I could not relate to most of my student base, until I went to Australia to learn from Emmett and do this vacation, and went sandboarding. Until today, I don't know why I went sandboarding, because I'm not into risk and action and adventure sports at all. I'm scared of stuff like that. But still, I went up this sand dune, slided down, and at some point, it stopped abruptly. My knee went to one direction and the rest of my leg to another one. I heard a crackling sound, and people looked at me like, go away, the next people are coming. And like, I cannot stand up. I had excruciating pain. My knee was breaking beneath me. I could not put weight on that thing. And a student of medicine who was on our tour in Australia, it was West Australia, he looked at my knee and examined it and got a serious wrinkle on his forehead and was like, ooh, that could be ACL or cross ligament or meniscus, or ooh, it doesn't look good. And I was freaking out.
Yeah.
The only thing I remembered what I could do was the Emmett moves I already learned in Switzerland. So I did some first emergency self-help knee points to do that. And then they put me into the sea to cool it down, because we were 2 hours off our final destination for that day in a bus. So we did some stop at a gas station, and my boyfriend at the time asked the staff, hey guys, do you have a little ice maybe? And they said, we have 5 kilos. He was like, no, I just need a little bag of it. They were like, why? And he pointed at me and said she had an accident. She needs some cooling. And they were, oh, okay, wait a second. And brought it from the kitchen. They had some open ice there and put something in a bag. A day later, when I was sent back to the south, because the only hospital was 100 or more kilometers away from the location we were at that point, for getting some x-rays, we stopped by accident at the same gas station. And we again met this guy and thanked him. We wanted to give him some tip for that. Mm-hmm. And he refused and said, you guys, I so feel with you, because my surgery is scheduled for January.
Oh, no way.
So it was hilarious. And this thing in Australia really helped me to relate, to know what it means when you cannot do your daily life. My boyfriend had to support me. He had to do taping of the knee. He patted me in the bed with pillows and everything to lay there without pain. Mm-hmm. I could not walk stairs, I think, for 6 months. Mm-hmm. It was for me being active and healthy, and nothing could stop me. This was kind of a huge lesson to learn.
Yeah. Is that knee recovered now? Can you use it just as
Fully.
normal? Yeah? Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, actually the doctors did not find anything. I had X-rays, did not show anything. I had an MRI later on, did nothing. They still don't know what happened. They suppose the kneecap went out and in, and the ligaments supporting the kneecap might be strained from that and kind of overstretched and had to get back, shorten. But it took me really 6 weeks to have an almost stable knee to put weight on it. And 6 months that I was able to walk stairs. Stairs was the hardest part of it all.
All right.
And I was, oh my God, this is my job. I need my body.
Yeah.
I cannot be injured. It's my only income. Yeah.
So that makes me think, speaking of recovery and healing the body, I wonder if you'd like to describe another type of positive change that you've been doing with your body recently, and some dramatic effects that have been going on there.
Well, again, seminar junkie. I attended a seminar of Coach Tim Adams, which was mind-blowing in itself, and I really love his work. Last year in April, and there he had the hotel made special meals. We looked at those meals and we're like, Tim, what is this on our plate? What are we having here? So he explained how he sets up a meal and what's important for him and the athletes he works with, because he brought some NFL teams and other teams to cups. For example, one team he brought to the Stanley Cup and everything in America. I don't know this sports stuff so much, but he's good. And I came home and started to eat like that. Most of the time I tried to have one good meal, like one meal a day. Sometimes I did not do it every day. I could only do each other day or certain days. And things started to happen. I lost by now 11 kilograms as a side effect. I did not intend on losing weight. I never even thought of diet at that point anymore, because I tried in the past diets like the Atkins, like metabolic balance, like whatever. Did not work or it did work, but I could not maintain it in an active life, in a daily life, and it did not feel good. But this food gave me more energy. My skin changed. People were like, what's going on with you? You look so different. And I showed on my page and on my post some before and after pictures. And it's really, now I see it. What people saw all these months and this year now. It was crazy. And even in a bikini, I had to give Tim a testimonial for his work. And I put on the same bikini than last year in June, I think it was. And it was strange. I saw how bad I looked last year, or in how bad shape I was. And now it's kind of, I trim, better shape, and I feel good in my body. I mean, I felt better with each year after 30. And people don't give me the 38. I'm almost. So I was already doing good in that department. But this thing opened up many other things. I walk with more confidence. People react even more to me. I can connect very well to people everywhere I go. But nowadays, they're like, something is up with her. And it was only the diet. So this was yeah, I never expected that from a seminar about a training camp or a sports and fitness thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting you say about the interactions and people react to you differently. What's the biggest difference that you've noticed in the way that you interact now?
One thing could be the confidence piece that I really carry myself differently. That I think the best example is when I look in the mirror now in the morning, I like what I see. It was not bad last year or the years before, but now I'm still sometimes amazed what I see in comparison, and I feel good in the morning, and I think that I carry into the day. I walk more upright or more straight, I don't know, and get a lot of compliments. The downside to that is many men are starting to hit on me, and I cannot really handle that. I mean, many women would be super glad about that fact of it and part of it, but I never flirted and never dated. I was in a relationship for 17 years and I never dated. I kind of stumbled in this relationship and then it was all set.
Yeah.
And now being on the market, I don't want to be on the market with all these creeps out there sometimes.
Oh God, there are, yeah.
and you get some strange Facebook messages and like, hey, I like what I see and whatever, and people want to connect with you. So this is too much because I don't know the rules of the game in a way. Yeah, so be careful. The side effect,
be careful what you wish for.
Have some warning on it.
Yeah, I know some ladies are like, oh, I wish I could lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds and have guys speaking to me again, but be careful what you wish for. You
Truly,
might not be prepared for it.
I did not see that coming, and well, yeah, that is, yeah.
That's funny. You were speaking there about in the morning and you're waking up and you're seeing yourself and you're really enjoying seeing yourself. Which made me think of another question I wanted to ask you, which was, you're doing all of these different things, as we said, multi-passionate entrepreneur, seminar junkie. How do you go into each day and how do you prepare yourself to be the best version of you during that day?
Not as much as I want to, because most of the time I have early morning classes. I have to figure out how I want to do my morning routine, because my ideal start in the day would be sports, shower, breakfast, then heading off to class. And also planning of the day, journaling and inspirational reading and something. But most of the days that doesn't work. I can oftentimes do a short version of it and at least do my day planning, like who to reach out to. If you know the Brendon Burchard one-page productivity planner, it's kind of that thing. Yeah. Who I have to connect with or what I'm waiting for and what is my most important thing I have to get done today. So I try to do at least that, to have a clear plan what I need to do today. And I get, of course, a little workout in my classes itself, but it was not enough for me. And the good thing is I went into a 30-day program with Coach Tim Adams, which was called Butt Camp. It's a bad name, really. But this thing gave me back my self-practice. Funny as it sounds, because he had a tracking sheet where you had to fill in if you did your 250 lunges and stuff like that. And so I wanted to not fail that thing and did my daily practices. So I had to put that in the afternoon, because I have morning classes in the afternoon or evening classes So the only free thing was the afternoon for me, which is not ideal for my kind of biorhythm. I would love to have that in the morning. But at the moment, it's just from scheduling things, because the most popular classes are morning and evening. It is like it is at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get up at 5 o'clock like some people in the 5 a.m. club do, because what I prioritize for myself is really enough sleep and naps and breaks.
Mm-hmm.
So with my schedule and all the craziness going on in my life and all those things, to keep my power and my vibrancy and all that, I sometimes, when I have to do the most, I do nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
To really get a break, be able to focus again, to get my mind calmed down and do a reset in a way.
Mm-hmm. What you're describing there is a decision that you've made in terms of what you prioritize most for yourself and what you consider as important. Along this journey and this adventure that you've been going down, have there been other decisions that have been difficult to make? And can you think of perhaps your most difficult decision you've made?
Well, the hardest decision I ever have had to make was the breakup last year. Because I was in this relationship for 17 years and he's the best guy ever. It was nothing wrong with him. He took care of me. He, when I earned less and less money because of my self-deployment, he never said a word. He took care of more or the bigger part of the rent. He surprised me. He was perfect in many ways. But for me, something I could not put my finger on it was missing. I felt that something is wrong or not okay, and it took me, I think, 2 years to finally break up. So that was for sure the hardest thing I ever had to do, because it broke him. Mm-hmm. And I could not see my life beyond this relationship. I had no idea how to live on my own, if the money would be enough, because living in Zurich is like New York or London or something. It's expensive, and the most part of my income was group classes in this mixture of yoga, Pilates, meditation, and nowadays Adam's method. You don't get much income with that. And the coaching was not yet up and running, and the graphic recording is very volatile. Some months you get 3 gigs and some months you don't. Mm-hmm. So I was scared like crazy, and but still at some point I told him I have to go. I don't know, but you're perfect. I don't know, but I think I'm the wrong one for you at this point. I don't know. And so we separated in, what was that, in June, only days before I went to the next seminar to my education as a high performance coach, and came back into not knowing what's expecting me. And he was doing great. He really was very nice and kind to me, even with that, what I'd done to him and kind of ruined his future and everything that he intended for us. So, and I moved out July or August to a friend who had a room, because she divorced earlier that year, and so she wanted to have some income or rent and not have a stranger in her apartment. So it kind of made sense, and mm-hmm. She now tells me each other day, "I'm so happy you're living here, and I'm so glad it's you." So it's things worked out, but I was so scared.
Yeah. That's something I was really picking up on there, is there was so much fear surrounding this decision, fear of hurting someone you love, fear of doing the wrong thing, fear of how you're going to support yourself. What made you finally push through all that fear and make that decision and ultimately tell the person that you love that I can't be with you anymore?
I'm not sure actually what the last thing was. It was things adding up and conversations. And also one conversation I had with my mentor Max at some point was we could not have children. And my ex-boyfriend, he wanted a big family. And that was another reason why I wanted to set him free, in a way, to have a family. And I had this conversation with Max at some point, and he was asking me, do you think he would be a good father? And I said, yeah, sure. He is the best possible father, because I see him with the nieces and the nephews, and he is the best. He gives them presents, he plays with them, no doubt about it. And then he looked at me and said, what about husband? And this struck me so much, because I remember it when we were fresh together. He already asked me to marry him. And I said, are you crazy? I don't know what to be when I'm grown up, like profession-wise. How should I know if I want to marry? We were 19 and 17 at that time. So it was really, for me, kind of scary and too early and everything. So he asked several times at the beginning of our relationship, and at some point he did not anymore. But maybe there was something to it. I don't know. So it all came together. A lot of conversations with friends and with my nowadays roommate. I mean, I helped her through her divorce and said or thought, it's so interesting what happens to her. Like, how, what? And months later, I had the same. So we were very in sync in many ways.
Mm-hmm. So I can only imagine how challenging an experience that is, and I'm sure it's not the only challenge that you've faced along this journey by any stretch of the imagination. Any personal development journey is one that's full of challenges.
Oh, yeah.
And what I would like to know is, how do you keep yourself motivated during these difficult times?
One thing is, I'm kind of with my back to the wall, so I only can go forward. There is no other way. I don't see the way, I don't know it. So I'm not one of those people I really admire who from a young age know exactly what they want to become, have this big vision to change the world, and go out and do it. Mm-hmm. I would love to have that and know that, but for me it's step by step and moving forward, and then clarity comes from there oftentimes for me. It's really in the action, the next step appears. And the motivation is really, I think I know I owe it to the people I care for, to my students. They're kind of, Max answered one time if he regrets to not having children. And he said his students are his children in a way. Mm-hmm. And I now understand what he meant by that, or how this came. Because I have really the same feeling. I want to help these people and reach more people and help more people to get either out of obesity or pain or anxiety, depression, and live the life they could live if there would not be all those obstacles or restrictions either from their body or from their mind. So I don't care if I help them via a group class or a coaching or with a graphic or whatever it is, but just get them going and inspire them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when we are able to make it less about ourselves and more about other people, that always brings the best out of us and always keeps us going. Because I think it's very strange. I'll ask you what you think about this in a moment, how we'll often do more for others than we'll do for ourselves.
Yes.
And we'll often treat we'll treat other people better than we treat ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing or best example is oftentimes people who cannot quit smoking, women especially, can do that immediately when they're pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for another human being inside of them, there's no doubt to do it for this little being, but not for themselves. If you would tell them, hey, do it for yourself, they don't do it.
Yeah.
So also in coaching, if I coach somebody, I always try to find a reason bigger than themselves in a way.
Yeah.
Because you don't do it for you. And we don't allow it or give ourselves permission to do it. A big thing Brandon told in the last high performance recertification was, if you can give your coachee permission, it's a big one. Because most people restrict themselves, holding back, kind of keeping their light shut up or shut off from the world.
Yeah.
Because we fear. I mean, being vulnerable is hard and we think it kills us. But what it does, it connects us. It brings hearts together. It opens conversations up and people can relate to you. If you share something with somebody, they're more likely to share something with you. So in coaching, if I have a certain topic in one of the sessions, I bring an example where it is important for my life, where I experienced that, or this struggle, or this topic, to really open the conversation up. So if you don't share, people won't open up to you in that sense, or in that broadness, maybe.
You're speaking there of this light that people have and keeping it shut off, and anytime we speak about light and the inner light, it always makes me think of the Marianne Williamson quote. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And I love that passage and that imagery of just letting your light shine forth into the world. For people who are struggling with that, and people who are struggling to let that light shine out, what would you suggest them to help them to unleash their inner greatness?
I can give you an example from my coach nowadays. So Coach Tim Adams is nowadays my coach and took me on as his student, the first one ever. And he said in an interview, as a coach or as a teacher, he wants to hold the space for his clients until they can see their greatness themselves. So you have several ways to get there. What I always recommend is get a teacher, get a mentor, a coach or something for you to hold that space for you to grow. It's like the gardener or it prepares the ground for you to rise. So this is one thing. And the other thing is, Tim told me also, if you could see yourself through my eyes, you would be surprised or astonished or something like that. So the technique here is try to see yourself through the eyes of someone else. You would be much more softer with yourself, not go so hard on you. And great exercises I learned from my friend Robert, also a CHPC coach, were note down what people are saying about you, good things people say about you. 1 or 2 pages, really collect everything. 1 page, 2 pages, what you accomplished in your life, things that you took up. And what was the other thing? I don't know now, but another cool thing was write down what is cool about you. Things like that. And also super powerful is go into your future vision of yourself. Not necessarily what do you want to attain. Yes, if you can specify you want to live in that house and do this job in this setting, have this family and this dog and everything, perfect. But I can't in a way. So if it helps you or serves you better, imagine what kind of person you are to achieve this thing. So what is your behavior? How do you carry yourself? Maybe what's your haircut? What is your style? How do you behave? Are you confident? Are you this? Are you that? So really do a little like a character description in a movie. How is this future self of you? How has this person to be? Or what is, for example, David 2.0? What does he or what does Bianca 2.0? What does she have to bring? Which skills, which behaviors would serve her to reach this future, this desired state? Because growth and change and coaching can only happen in the present or in the future, even in the future. We don't do past. So it's not dealing with your trauma. For that, you need a therapist. If it's still bothering you 20, 30 more years later, that is kind of something somebody else has to take care of. But coaching and changing and future and solution-based action, you have to move into the future. Because only there you can change.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I aim for in my clients and my students and coaches.
I think that's a really important point you make about focusing on the type of person you want to be rather than the things that you want to acquire, the possessions, the accolades, the rewards. Because if you set a sight of, I want to win a gold medal at the Olympics, you'll be forever unhappy and dissatisfied until you win that gold medal. And you probably won't. And even if you do, well, what's next after the gold medal? This thing that you've put on a pedestal for so long, and you've got it, and the feeling of achievement, it never lasts as long, or it's never as strong as we think it's going to be. So what's left after that? Whereas if you focus on being the type of person who can acquire an Olympic gold medal, the discipline, the commitment, the motivation, the passion, the enthusiasm, all of these things, that will serve you along the journey as well as the destination. It doesn't matter about that destination. It might not be a gold medal at the Olympics. It might actually be something different that your personal development ends up putting you towards.
Right. Yes. And you have more room for changes, because oftentimes the thing you think you want or you want to achieve is not the thing that happens on the way. Like John Lennon, I think, was it, who said, life is what happens while you make other plans. And what you think you need might not be what you should have or do or be. So also dialing into this feeling and intuition part, I know how hard it can be, but this is what I'm working at the moment in, really dialing into my emotions and allowing also intuition in, because I was very intuitive as a kid and had all that. And now, funny enough, all the men in my life, all the teachers and all of them telling me, soften up, become more female and use your intuition, because you have a great intuition if you wouldn't use it and listen to it. And then the signs come. I mean, you get this hunch. I had, for example, this hunch, I need to go to Australia to learn from Ross. And I had this urge to go to Max and to Brendan and Tim. I did not really know why, but I knew it was important, or I had to do it. And nowadays, all those seminars and these things come together in a way. They still don't make sense, kind of. Why? Some people ask me, so Bianca, why did you go to Roger Love's event to do your voice stuff? Why do you need working on your voice? And I said, I don't know. I think one of the things that is coming is speaking on stage, but I don't know. I just prepare. For what exactly, I cannot say for sure. Just to be ready and keep moving, even if it's cloudy and I don't see the full path. It's like this example people say, you don't have to see the whole road, maybe in a foggy night, but your headlights shine as far as you need to see.
Yeah.
And so even when you don't see all the way to the next city, you make it there step by step, and the way uncovers or unfolds. Or the best image of that actually is from Indiana Jones, where he has to take is it Last Crusade, where he has to take the step into this invisible, or in this kind of, he has to fall.
Yeah.
And then the stair or the way appears.
Yeah.
And I think that is what is needed. Taking this leap of faith at some point and surrender and hope for this act of grace and enlightenment. No, not enlightenment in the spiritual sense, but to find the next step from there, to move one foot after the other or in front of the other and make it there. And at the end, if you look back, you see how far you've come. The best quote I think there is from, is it Steve Jobs with the you can only connect the dots backwards?
Oh, I don't know. Not familiar with that one.
But it
probably
is
Steve
true.
Jobs. It sounds like something you'd say.
But it is true. I cannot make sense of many things in my life right now. But if I look back, many things make sense now. Like moving to Switzerland took me to all these educations in the health sector. If I would have stayed in Germany, and I might be now married, living in the same city I grew up, have a house, maybe 1 or 2 kids, and lost my dreams. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I always in my life had this feeling there is more. I have to go. I have to do something. I have to move. And all these little steps brought me on the way or on a journey. But I could not have planned this.
Yeah.
If I would have, or even some person told me 2016 what 2017 would be like, where I did my first seminar, my first retreat, where I met Tim, where I was asked from Max to be in his online course video, and I traveled for 1 day to London to do a shooting, where I illustrated a book from a friend. That were so many firsts. I would have laughed. I would say, you're a crazy person, go home. So I don't plan. People think I'm super planned and super organized and schedule, and I try to do the opposite and kind of let go of all this too much planning. And yeah, of course, I have projects and things in my business to tend to and things I want to achieve, but I try to not be strict Because if you're too strict, you might miss things left and right you don't see because you're kind of blindfolded or, yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's really important, and we don't know what our destinies are at the end of the day. That we don't know where we're going. We've just got to honor the journey, as Brendan says, honor the struggle.
Yeah. And it's a lot of times that on the journey, the important stuff happens. Mm-hmm. The final destination, for me, doesn't matter oftentimes. I just told my friend yesterday when we did a little celebration of good things that happened, I normally don't celebrate my wins. I just jump to the next thing and to the next and to the next. Yeah. But this is an important thing to not get depressed at some point, because many successful people feel empty because they don't integrate what they achieved, what they reached, and the amazing things they did. Mm-hmm. They just keep running or going to the next shiny objects, and you have so many experiences if you connect with the people, if you talk to people, if you learn along the road. And it's important to take it in and be present with your family, with your loved ones, with your peers. And you never know, if you open and talk to people, so many things happen.
Mm-hmm. Bianca, we have a destination upcoming, which is the end of our time together, the end of our interview, yes. Unfortunately. I've got a few more questions that I'd like to ask before we reach that point. And just because they're the last few questions, don't think your answers need to be short or succinct, the answers or whatever they need to be. The first of these questions is, I think so many of the things that we've been talking about are powerful, they're useful, but we only come across them as adults. And what I'd like to do in my work, and I hope that other people will do in their work, is bring this more into the younger folk, into the teenagers, and into the children in primary school from a very early age. So I'd like you to imagine you've got a 5-year-old in front of you, and you're going to give them some advice on how they can make the most of their life, how they can live a life of fulfillment. What advice would you give them?
So the first thing I would really emphasize is listen to your dreams at the moment. Because I forgot my childhood dreams, mm-hmm. and it took me a reroute of 20 years maybe to come back to it. So just be open what you're talented and passionate about, and what's important for you, what makes your heart sing, or where you forget time. Because this could be a hint what a good profession for you would be like, or what fulfills you later on. Often as a kid, we're so much smarter than later on, because we're more connected to our emotions, to our values. Use this intelligence, this connection you have at the moment. And the other thing is, because I actually have a teenager, it's not a 5-year-old, of course, but he's coming to my class since 2010.
Wow.
It's from time to time, not often, but his mother sometimes brings him. And he told the other day, I'm coming to Bianca's class. It's so good for me. And she was like, I don't know if there's a space today. It might be a full class. And he said, I don't care. It's important. And we worked on something in class, because some class we did some exercise and he was frustrated and said, I can't do that. And I told him, wait a second. You can't do it yet. Mm-hmm. Or you're working on it. You want to learn that, or however. So your words matter. Your words and what you tell yourself each day is super important. Mm-hmm. So don't shut yourself off and saying, I can't, I won't, this is too hard. I am not, but make it more of a journey, or more, I'm working on that, or I want to learn that. Show me how. And so now when he comes to class, he bites his tongue when it slips out and says, oh, I'm working on it. I learned that. Okay, I do it. And his mother told me the other day when we had a coffee, hey, he's trying to do his words right. And to do that. Yeah, it's really little things. And another thing maybe is consistency is what changed my life in so many ways. If it's the diet thing or the changing your diet, it was not the big bang. It was doing little doable steps each day. And if you fall off the wagon, the easiest advice from Tim was, well, get back on.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't lose, you just lose if you stop. But you can get back on track each day.
Yeah. What are you grateful for, Bianca?
Oh, so many things. I mean, I'm grateful each day when I wake up for my life, for my health, for the environment I grew up with my family, with my friends. I'm grateful for my former partner and this relationship of 17 years, because it taught me a lot of things, and he kind of helped me out of being a shy bookworm kind of type into growing up, and we made this journey together. I'm grateful for the teachers that believe in me and saw potential when I did not. Max did that for me, and now Tim, and the opportunities, the crazy things happening in my life, my students who give me feedback what changed in her life. Some people even started to go to therapy because they went to my meditation workshop, or another person decided to work on her addiction problem and stuff like that. So with little things like coming to a class or doing a coaching with me, they changed so many things. Or I posted these food pictures, how I started to eat, and Facebook friends commented and said, hey, I started to eat like you do, and now I lost 10 pounds. I was like, this is crazy. I thought food pictures is stupid, like all these cat pictures. I mean, not stupid, but I wouldn't do it. I'm not that person, and now I am that person, and it inspires people. It's crazy. And even for my struggles, I mean, this Australia accident was no fun at all, but it helped me become a better teacher and understand and feel that, put myself into their shoes. This breaking up and living with sometimes money super, super short, and not knowing if I can afford the next rent at some point, because I invested so much last year in myself. I traveled the US 5 or 6 times. I learned from the best teachers. I invested in my business and myself, so many things. And now it starts to slowly pay off, and I see results. But to hang in there in this insecurity and something I cannot control is so hard for me. Mm-hmm. But I grew as a person from it, and people see the difference. Mm-hmm. So actually, I think each day, each evening, and note down, what am I grateful for? Because we tend to forget how blessed we are. So I note down each coffee I get as a present, or each nice thing somebody said, or I try to make it a habit, because the two most powerful things and kind of the sources for all other practices are gratefulness exercises, or gratitude, and forgiveness. With those two, you can turn around lives. if you do it.
Yeah.
Because the thing with forgiveness is there's this good metaphor of not forgiving somebody is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies.
Yeah.
So the other person might have forgotten what happened and what he or she did to you, but you're still struggling and killing yourself over it. So forgiving is kind of even selfish because it makes you better. It helps you move on. And I don't say forgive the action. It's not about if somebody did something dreadful to you, hurt you, or other things. That's not acceptable. Of course not. But forgiving this person can also mean let it go. You don't have to see the person anymore. It doesn't mean it's all Pollyanna and everything and you have to be best friends afterwards. But you open up a lot if you consider the possibility to forgive this person. Yeah. Whatever it might have been, but only consider it is a big one, oftentimes.
Mm-hmm. What legacy do you want to leave after you've gone?
I think I'm good already. No, it sounds bad, but I noticed I was very scared in flying years ago. I had to hold the hand of my partner, my boyfriend, for taking off and landing. I was not really angst or anxiety, but I did not feel well. Nowadays, I can fly with no regret. I have the feeling if I would die now, I'm good. I had a life of purpose and I mattered for some people. Maybe not as many people I would love to help and make better and happier and give them their dreams back and help them to move. But it is good. With all these changes, I help some people out of pain to live better, to change their life, to start changing their lives and connect to others. So yeah, I just want to move on that path and impact more lives, more people, and make them see in a way that there's more out there, that maybe the limits you think are there, not there, that they might be an illusion and something you put on because of your past and your experiences there, and that there's hope. Mm-hmm. And maybe that a jump and a leap of faith is needed at some point.
Yeah. A word that's really been capturing my attention, my fascination over the past few years is the word authentic, and looking to become authentic versions of ourselves, express ourselves authentically in the world. When you look into the root of the word authentic, and you look into the Greek root of authentic, the Greek root of the word authentic is author. So the Greeks saw being authentic as being the author of your own life, and this helped me to really catalyze and hone in on the premise of author your life, the premise of we all hold the pen and we can choose what story we want to write, we can choose what character we want to be in that story. For me, that's what I see being authentic as being all about. For you, Bianca, what does the word authentic mean?
I think it's being true to you, being in a way unapologetic, and coming back to your values. Because often we shut down from what is important to us, really our core. And one colleague of mine in the mastermind on Wednesday, he had the experience or the explanation of it. It means that your core, your essence of your being, your soul, your spirit, whatever you call that, your body and your emotions and your thoughts are all aligned. And if you make like little holes, it was a model like you have this core inside and shells around it, like a big ball at the end. So if you would punch holes in all of those shells and you would align all the holes at the same spot, your light would shine strongly out there. Your core could come out. So I don't know what it means for you or for the person listening to that, but maybe you need to work on your body to get more vulnerable or more open. Maybe it means you have to work on your emotions. Maybe it's your thoughts, but really kind of getting into alignment of your whole being. And people connect with that because they feel you're no bullshit. And the interview yesterday was with the Reiki master, and she told me, hey, you're shining through the screen. It's like I see your energy and your glow and your being kind of, and you have this kind of energy, this thing quality to it. It's amazing. So I think people pick up on it if you work on those things. Yeah, it's work in progress and it takes a long time and I'm nowhere. Start only at the beginning. But trying to find out who you are in a way. And if it's looking through other people's eyes and seeing your greatness or that you're so much better than you think you are already. Because we are really hard on ourselves.
Yeah. So Bianca, for people who've been listening to this interview and they've resonated with some of these lessons that you've been imparting and the perspective that you've offered, where would you direct people to find out a little bit more about you and the things that you do?
So one thing is my normal webpage, biancaradgeb.com. So we can put that down below or something. Yeah. And at the moment I'm running my first beta program, the Cinderella experiment. But to connect, easiest is website, Facebook under my name. What else? Yeah, that's kind of the easiest things. And if you want to experience us live and watching or listening from the US, we are doing an event end of month, 28th and 29th in Minneapolis. So if they're interested in that, we can also put the link there. It's becomeresilientandthrive.com.
Brilliant.
So if you want to experience Tim and myself and Dawn and Nino Brodan, amazing people, yeah, you could come there. We would love to have you.
Could you explain a little bit more about the Cinderella experiment? Because the name is fascinating. I'm sure people will be listening saying, what is the Cinderella experiment?
Well, the funny thing is it all connects backwards now, because at the beginning of the year I draw a quote and said, one day you will be old enough to believe in fairy tales again. And I wanted to be 2018 my fairy tale year. And guess what? It all ties back into that. But Cinderella experiment came to be because I wanted to teach this other way of eating, creating habits that are more sustainable for your health and for your sleep and your limiting beliefs that might hold you back from losing this weight, because often excess weight is a security measure. It's kind of a shell around you to protect you from these things from outside. And so diet, something was not enough. And I wanted to make it a fun and natural way, because it's not with shakes or strict diets. It should be a lighter way and changing your whole life. And that is why the Cinderella comes in. So we do a 3-week experiment phase where you have to experiment on your own body, what's good for you, which vegetables, with which proteins, which fats, what you like, what you don't like, and just be in this beginner's mind in a way and experiment what is helping you feel better and what is not, and what goes beyond, because we have experts on board. There will be a nutritionist, there will be a person in the UK who lost also a lot of weight, I think 26 pounds. There will be a makeup artist to make more of it. So people can watch a little glimpse of that on my Facebook page and on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is also new. I have a YouTube channel now. So those webinars, we did little glimpses of that people can experience who's on board. And we have a mindset, and they're all fairy godmothers. So we have fairy godmothers for everything. And these experts will share their secrets and to make your life a little more dreamy and go beyond what you think maybe it's possible. Mm-hmm. So it's super experimental. The product will be produced with them. So I really need the feedback from my beta group. What helps them? What is their biggest struggle? To really design this program for them. Mm-hmm. And so that's a lot of stuff in there, and I hope many people enjoy it and lose weight, get a better skin, feel more vibrant, and who knows what happens in their lives. I don't know. Mm-hmm. You never know.
You never do. Bianca, thank you for sharing all that. Everything is included in the show notes for the listeners. And I'd just like to say thank you for coming on and sharing some entertaining stories, a real adventure of a life, and doing so with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. So thank you very much, Bianca.
Thank you so much for asking me, and it was great fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it hugely if you could head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the podcast. With your review, please be as honest and detailed as you can be. Because with honest and detailed feedback, that helps me to adapt and grow this podcast to most serve you, the listener. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, then make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you aren't going to miss any of the future episodes that we've got lined up for you. Until next time, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen, and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. So go out today and write yourself a beautiful story.